Good morning, good morning, good morning.
And his area in
I'll share something
Chirag's
really
neighborhood.
interesting with all of you. Hey, Peggy. Hey, John. Hey, Martha. Hey, Brad. I love all my friends on the West Coast. Ross, I have a donation coming your way today. Do not forget about you. And so check this out. So I was making gingerbread houses this weekend, and myself and my son, we were competing against Valentina and Tiffany. It was like men versus ladies. And, you look at the gingerbread house, like the boxes, and these things look perfect. So they give you the idea that this is really possible. And I forgot who sent me a message on Instagram after I posted this video that these gingerbread houses might be the biggest scams in the entire world. I'm not creative, but I put together what I thought was like my most creative process. Everything looked perfect. I put the roofs are lined up. I had this design that went on. And right before we were like putting the finishing touches, the last 10%, the thing crumbled. Like, the ladies had theirs, they crumbled. They put together another house that was a lot more simple, a lot more decorative. And needless to say, we lost. And so somebody sent me a message. They're like, by the way, Chirag, if you really want to have a nice gingerbread house, you just have to use a hot glue gun, glue the thing together. See, Sharon's nodding her head. And that's how it really works. So then I started thinking about people's businesses, and I'm like, oh my God, it's the same exact way. A lot of times we have this perception that something is simple or there's one formula. And like the question today is what's the hot glue gun? Right? What is that one thing that you need in your business that really puts it together? And so what I want you guys all to focus on is what I call the skill building roadmap. So who has a plan on developing their skills for 2024 that's not named John Jenkins? Anybody? Martha. Miriam. So think about this logically, right? Because the whole goal is to get incrementally better year after year after year year after year for your career. I just got off the phone with an agent and I asked them, I go, at the end of the year, you feel like you went to a lot of coaching sessions this year? And she goes, oh yeah. And I said, so you felt like you put a lot of time into developing yourself? And she's like, oh yeah. And I said, so how many things you really have implemented into your business that'll permanently last beyond the 30 minutes you heard about it? And the face was like this. And I said, exactly. See, so this goes back to the concept of mastery, right? There's three buckets in this: need to learn, learning, and mastery. Let me pull the sheet up really quick. Bear with me here. So in our other days, we would call these things learning maps, right? So what is a learning map? And we'll give this obviously all to you, and this will be in your recap. So this is what a learning map looks like. Need to learn, learning, mastery. Now, how many things can you really focus on at once, right? So if you look at a client listing report, it's having the confidence and ability to follow the structured system to ensure the apartment is shown to the best of its ability. Well, that's not really the right outcome here. And this was something that we're actively working with the agent on. Client follow-up, open houses, right? So if you look at this whole thing, you'd want to list all the skills that you want to work on. So if this said here, let's just make a copy. So this would be pre-qualifying. I would say need to learn the Med C, how to ask the four most important questions to understand what a client wants. What is mastery? Having the confidence to be able to ask the med C in any situation from memory and getting my desired outcome 90% of the time. So now the way it works is, this is what you need to learn. If you're learning it, I would just pick a color and I would highlight it. And when you've mastered it, I would put the next color in. Obviously, I'd put in green. And the reason that I want people to think about this in this unique way is all of your businesses are unique. The skills you have to develop are unique. Those little touch points that make it really like a high-end hospitality scenario are unique. But if you don't have this visually mapped out and it's in your brain and you don't know what mastery looks like, you don't know what the outcome looks like, you don't know what the applicable catchphrases and learning points are, and you don't prioritize them, how are you ever going to grow over a long period of time? Does this, raise your hand if this makes sense to you? Right. So a part of this is we spent a lot of time talking about Four Seasons, Ritz-Carlton service, and all of these other things, the buyer presentation, the listing presentation, but all of these things are broken down into these smaller bite-sized segments. And if we're not able to understand what parts are skills, then how are we ever going to get better at them? You know, I joined one of our great role play groups the other day, and it was amazing. Like, there's 30 some odd people in there. They have an email that goes out that talks about what they're working on. They break out into Zoom groups. They come back, they share their takeaways, wins, challenges, structured learning, but they're all focused on essentially micro skills. And the way that you grow over time is mastering these small parts of your business, where over a long period of time, they turn into a lot. You know, somebody told me that Mo, and I'm going to unmute Mo here, Mo got a $17 million listing, unbeknownst to me till the other day, from listening. Does that sound about right, Mo? You can unmute yourself.
Yeah, yes, it's true. Yeah, it's true. And so, you know, I mean, it didn't happen overnight. I was working with them for almost a year, and I showed the property privately and all those type of things. But he wasn't interested in listing with me. But I just, as I'm saying, I practice because, like most salesmen, I love to talk. So it pays off, really. Yeah.
What did you practice, and how did it show up?
Really, practice of listening is not just be quiet. It is step one is the quietness. You know, it means that you don't talk, but then you have to be attentive. You know, you have to read really the buyer or the seller. What is their concern? And then it comes really later on. I mean, not later on. If you have a chance, then you ask questions. But just pure listening is, you get lots of information. It's just, so, I mean, I didn't know listening has more aspect than just listening. So because you have to analyze at the same time, says where they're coming from. When they say something, what is their concern? And if you just be patient with them, let them finish their thoughts, they give you lots of information.
Yeah, and I think the part that I want all of you to take away from Mo's experience is people want to talk and share information. I think we forget that's why people called you there in the first place.
Yes, but and you know, recently, you know, I learned this. These are from David Severance, and he says, "I want you guys have once a month somebody tell you, thank you for listening." Means it's another level. Means they were so impressed with your patience and really listen, they thank you. If you don't say, if a person won't say thank you, you're not in that level. You know, so even listening has levels. You can listen for 5 minutes, but if you listen for 10 minutes, people appreciate it. Last night, Somebody told me, first time in my life that somebody says, thank you for listening. Is really is you know, it's another word out there, as I'm saying, as far as refining ourselves. They think that, again, I'm not coaching, but Chirag, you're mentioning the mastery. Mastery is another level. I mean, it's really when you, even a little thing you master, like listening, that is, I think it's big, it's not little. You feel it that you're master. But again, you eat elephant one bite at a time. So this is my biggest weakness as far as listening. And so
not anymore.
not anymore. Yeah, but the other thing, there is, this element, there is, this is skills. There is not one skills. Real estate agents need lots of skills. Negotiation, right? I mean, this and, whatever. So the mastery that you mentioned, I'm very interested in that roadmap. That's very interesting that, what is my weaknesses, other weaknesses?
Look, I think for all of us, right, if there's one thing you can take away out of this is, exactly what he said. He's like, it's not listening, it's just being quiet. It's listening to what the other person's saying so you can meet them where they are. David said this. I went through David's leadership training as his student. That's how I actually met David. And I remember going into listening, like, I'm a great listener. And then it's like, if somebody doesn't tell you once a month that you're a great listener, I'm like, then I start thinking, I'm like, when was the last time somebody told me this? And it prompts you to think, right?
Yeah.
And look, the whole point of a client is they have a goal that they want to achieve. Mm-hmm. And if you spend the whole time talking, what space does that give somebody to share their goal? Mm-hmm. Do you know how much I've learned talking to all of you in the last few weeks? How many people here have I actually talked to on the phone that's here? Probably a fair amount, right? And if I haven't talked to you, I'll expect a call coming, right? So anyone who signed up for this program, I will speak to you over the course of this month. But it's some of the best learnings as a company that we can have on how we can be better. It's by listening to what all of you have to say. It's not being left to your own merits or what I think is best for all of you. It's a collaboration of both. The idea of having personalized tracks and simplifying this and the time commitment and not being confused is something from all of you. It's not some grand idea that I came up with on my own, but if you don't talk, like if you don't ask great questions, there's nothing right to listen to. So our goal is that every person, I believe, next year should be in an accountability role play group. Everybody. There's one thing I wanted to share with all of you too, as we continue going through this learning map. There's a distinct difference between people that are in accountability groups and not in accountability groups. I had literally a couple people tell me, I really wasn't sure if I was going to sign up again for next year, but being in this group made sure that I wanted to sign because the way that we're able to use the resources and learn through peers is incredibly valuable. I see David's here. David, where are you? Let's spotlight David. David, let's drop some nuggets on listening as it'll add on to Mo's statement.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Listen, congratulations, Mo. Mo and I have been working on listening for a little while now. And, I'm glad to be able to say that the stuff that we've shared and the dialogue that we've had is worth $17 million at least. And so I can say that without any hesitation because, he's crediting the listening with closing the deal here. From my point of view, the number one thing that you always have to do as an agent is create an outstanding, remarkable experience for the people that you're with. And there is no more powerful way or no more potentially powerful way to do that than through listening. And so there's, of course, many ways that you affect a client and make a client feel satisfied. But you can work your butt off. And if you don't listen well, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. There is no single skill, I believe, that's more important than relating in a powerful and impactful way than to listen. And as Mo says, it's not just about being quiet. There's a lot of specific skills in there. We've talked about some of them on my Wednesday calls. I talked a little bit about it a week or two ago, and people said, let's hear more. So we'll have to plan some more for the future. But I'll echo what Mo said. If someone doesn't say to you, you are a good listener, or thank you for listening. If you don't hear that at least once a month, you're not listening well enough, period, because you have opportunities every day, multiple opportunities to create a powerful impact through listening. And if you multiply those many opportunities every day times 30 days, we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of opportunities to make someone feel truly related to by you. And, you know, the evidence of that is when they say, thank you for listening, or you're a good listener, because what they're saying is, I just had such a powerful experience of being related to by you that I feel compelled right now to say that to you. That's a very powerful sign of what they're experiencing. And so it's a great, you know, yardstick or barometer for you to think about, how are you really impacting the other?
Thank you, David.
Welcome.
So onto our learning map. Drop in the chat what skills you want to work on. And the goal of doing this is to make sure that they're actually specific skills. So like if people use the word systems, like what system? A buyer system, a seller system, and then what part of the system? Let's see what we have here. The listing presentation. Unresolved buyer's agency agreement. Med C, that's a very specific skill. Aubrey, what is, unmute yourself, what is populating contracts?
So I'm pretty new to real estate, so I'm still sort of getting into the realm of what all is required and which contracts are required for which scenarios, et cetera. So just, I think, going through that for the first few times and really getting comfortable that I'm getting everything right.
So then I would say is practice blank contract till blank result.
Yeah.
Right, so it's very specific. Shanna, let's unmute you. You're next. I know they're looking for you right now. When you say objection handling, what objection? There are a lot of different objections that people could have. So you want to pick one objection and then master that one and move on to another one. Ongoing communication with buyers and sellers and keeping in touch with past clients. Those are many, many different skills.
Sorry, Chirag, I mislocated my split minute the attention. Yeah, thanks for handling. Thank you.
No problem. So for people that are doing the buyer's presentation, you'll sit there with me next year and I will teach it to you live, and then I'll show you how to practice. One of the things that we want to be more mindful of is when we say, okay, go practice this, that we give you some specific steps on exactly what to do. Let's see, my personal video marketing. So Rich, what part of your video marketing do you want to master? Like what part of that skill do you really want to work on? Because personal video marketing is an activity, but what part of that is the skill?
Maybe just more relevant information, more personalization to actual past clients or upcoming leads, instead of just generalizing maybe about market reports or, you know, recaps and things like that.
So the skill that you'd want to do is practicing and really learning, segmenting audiences. And then the next skill is building a marketing plan that speaks to each segment. So those are two different skills.
All right. Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome. So Peggy, when you say organizing all my materials so they're on top of my mind and on hand during the listing consultation. So when anyone uses the word all, what does all mean? So if I look at my time block and I put in, I'm going to pick on Peggy for a second, and she is representative of many of what people are thinking and say. When I show up to do something for 30 to 45 minutes or even an hour, when I hear all of my materials, immediately my brain feels confused, chaotic, and I'm just not going to do anything. All's a lot, right? So when you want to go through it, you want to break each part down and say, okay, the first thing I really want to do is master the keys to an effective partnership. The next thing I want to master is going through my written marketing plan. The next thing I want to master is the written communication plan. And those are the three big ones for like a listing presentation, right? Some people want to master, I encourage everyone to have on their list, to master the skill of sharing the market with buyers and sellers. So Martha's accountability group will be focused on having a buyer system. We get a call from the buyer presentation, buyer tour set up to the final moment of buyer gifting and program. So if you want to join, Martha, can more people fit in your accountability group? So if you want to join an accountability group that talks about mastering the whole buyer process and system, reach out to Martha. Martha will put her email in here before you guys all start writing your email. Remember, you email Martha. Martha should not have to collect all the emails from you. So Martha, you could write your email one time and the people that want to join that group can do that. Remember, take advantage of this concept of collaborative learning, knowing that 20 minds are better than one, especially when your one mind is your own thoughts and if you're sitting at home and you're by yourself. Our head is an uncontrolled, crazy, it's like, the best way to put it, it would be like an animal just running around wild. That's meant to be in a jungle, but now you put like a tiger into a house. It's crazy. So that's why we encourage you all to be with other people. All right, so who has questions about building out their own learning map? So I only see a few of you actually put what skills you want to work on, which leads me to believe the rest of you are not sure as to what to even put in here. So if you're unsure, write the word unsure so I can actually give you guys some prescriptive direction. Be honest, it's okay. Every single person should learn a Med C. If you have not learned the Med C, that is like the easiest place to start. And if you have mastered the Med C, the next thing I would expect everyone to look into is the keys to an effective partnership, buyers and sellers. Deborah, you're in our program next year. You don't have to map anything out. Just wait till we give it to you and then just adjust our process. So you don't have to start from 0 to 1 because client experience mapping takes many, many hours. Because look, you learn how to do the Med C. The next natural thing is listening and taking the information and then putting it into your CRM. That's a fundamental building block. Now you know exactly what clients want. Then the keys to an effective partnership is what you control, what I control, and what no one controls. That's the next step in the process. Right? Because you want to outline what your job is. What is your role in a transaction? Is it just me from when I sold real estate, or am I not alone that the buyers and sellers really don't know what our job is? Anybody else? The stuff that people do for agents is unbelievable. I talked to an agent the other day, and he was literally sitting in this waterfront house for people that are not there for 4.5 hours waiting for the alarm company to come and test the system. Do you know how many small things that you do like that are never accounted for in a transaction? If you had to have an attorney sit in court all day waiting for your case to be called, do you think they charge you hourly for that? 100%. So look, the goal is just to make this simple. Learn one skill at a time and then move on to the next one. Right? For those of you who are, how many people are into the quarterly mastery for next year? Raise your hand. If you're doing this, all you have to do is just focus on the one thing, right? So for many people, it's the buyer's consultation. So if you break this down, you average it out to 30 minutes a day working on one thing. At the end of 3 months, you'll spend 30 hours. Does everyone else besides me feel confident in all of you that in 30 hours you could master a skill? 100%, because the benefit you have are these are not new skills. In some capacity, you're doing this in your everyday business already. So this is how I want you to make the magic happen. When I look back at 2024, if we're sitting here, it's a year from now. What I want you all to feel is the confidence of knowing that you broke this down into small bite-sized bits and you learn 5, 10 different micro skills in context of your bigger things. Because if you're learning the buyer presentation, you're going to learn all the skills that are associated to it. If you're then going to focus on the buyer experience, you're going to learn all those high-end hospitality skills, the touch points, the email templates, conversations. Look, you look at great service. I reached out to a handful of people, and I can give a special thank you to Peggy here, who solved my problem, right? A great real estate agent provides all different types of resources and everything else. So I needed help in my house, and she sent me someone, and it literally said, this guy's name, the best at what he does. So I called him up, and the guy drove to my house. He sat on a Sunday from Danbury, which is probably about 40 minutes from here, with his wife and his 6-year-old daughter in the car, took all the time to go through my house. And I was just like, wow, this is incredible. But so when I think of people and referrals and service and how people live in a community and lifestyle, it'd be very easy for me to recommend Peggy, because now I also have a personalized story and experience that I can share to her. And so I needed her, and she's an agent. She was available made herself available on a Saturday afternoon and really quickly got me to a solution. So look, when you think about this, there's so many different touch points. And we're getting to the year of mastery. And I could not be more excited for everyone on here for that. When you master the transaction, your clients are going to have a better experience. And this is where you really win. You're going to get time back into your life. Because when you build the system accounts for all of those little blocks of time. You want to get rid of all those unnecessary 5-minute things that happen 300 plus times a year, because every time you do that, it's 25 hours. So what I want you to do, master the calendar. Why do I feel like I should do another session on time blocking? Do people want more time blocking? All right. So we will do another time blocking session before the year's done. And look, I believe we have like 1 or 2 more weeks left. Hersan will know the actual last date. You'll get comms for the business plannings that we have that we're doing to kind of round out about the year. And look, there's like 3 weeks left. 3 weeks. What you choose to do each day really matters. The goal is to just make this simple, work when you need to work, be with your family when you need to be with your family. So today, I want you to start writing down the skills that you want to do. Try not to use the word all. And just remember, is what I'm working on, is it clear what I want to work on? Is it concise and specific, the skill I want? And is it quantifiable what I'm going to get out of it as a result? And as long as you hit those 3 things like a great value proposition, you'll make this infinitely easier for yourself. As always, with love in my heart, I love you all. Thank you so much for being here. And so many people turning their cameras on today. You know how much I really appreciate that. And we shall see you all tomorrow. And I have a session with Compass today at 2:30, I believe, on client gifting. So I'd love to see as many of you there as possible. Bye, everybody.